Good Monday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. Back off a little break late last week. Took the young man down to the happiest place on earth, so enjoyed a little time away, but certainly back in the fold, and glad to be with you here on Hacker After Dark. Oh, my goodness. The owners' meetings, some drama coming out of the owners' meetings. Doug Peterson met the media today addressing some issues. We had not heard from him. We got a lot going on as far as the NCAA tournament with not one but two teams from the state of Florida getting ready to head to Houston to the Final Four. And I've been told that we have Billy Napier tickets to give away to the spring speaking tour next Monday here in Northeast Florida if you want to go hear from the Gator head football coach. I got a pretty good idea that we're going to be giving those away here probably in the next, I would say 15 to 20 minutes. So Gator fans, have your phones ready at 641-1010. Speaking of the Gators, how about former Gator great, All-American tight end Ben Troop? He will join us coming up in about 20 minutes. Certainly we'll talk a little Gator spring football, but I wanted to branch out with Ben a little bit. He has some really interesting thoughts as a former tight end on what the Jaguars have here with Evan Ingram. Ben Troop, very familiar with Calvin Ridley from Ben Troop's sports radio days in the state of Georgia. I'm also going to ask Ben Troop about Jawan Taylor making the transition from right tackle to left tackle with Kansas City, and Ben Troop was a college teammate of Ran Carthon, who is now the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. So we got a lot to get into with former All-American tight end at the University of Florida, Ben Troop. He is coming up in less than 20 minutes. Coming up at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, we will go to Baltimore, Maryland. Our guy up in Baltimore. We got guys. That's what Denmark and I bring you every night here on Hacker After Dark. I've been doing this so long that I got people in all these NFL markets. So when news out of Baltimore happens, we go to our guy. And our guy is Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore, the very latest on the Lamar Jackson soap opera. We might throw in a Calais Campbell question or two, but Luke Jones in Baltimore coming up at 9 o'clock. So we got a lot to do, Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us to kick off Hacker After Dark on a Monday, and as we do every night, to kick off each and every broadcast, we do give you a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So I talked about Doug Peterson meeting the media earlier today. Doug Peterson obviously has talked a lot this offseason, but this is his first time talking since free agency and since the reinstatement of Calvin Ridley. So Doug Peterson earlier today out in Phoenix was asked about Calvin Ridley being reinstated and now officially being part of this Jacksonville Jaguar football team.
We're excited to get Calvin. We're excited to, have him cleared a few weeks ago, by the league and all of that, and that's behind him now. And gone back and watched a lot of his tape from Atlanta and the things that he does well. And, it's some of the same things that we do within our system and within our offense. I think he's going to be a great piece for Trevor, obviously. He's going to work great with Christian and Zay, even with Evan. And he's going to bring, another level to that receiving room that we need. And until we really get him in the building and get him working this spring, it's just kind of what we've seen on film so far, really looking forward to maybe designing some things for him and just kind of integrating them in one day at a time.
I was Jaguar head coach Doug Peterson earlier today out at the owners' meetings in Phoenix. To me, Calvin Ridley is one of the main stories, one of two stories that has transpired really in the last couple of weeks, because Evan Ingram got franchised like 3 weeks ago. You knew he wasn't going anywhere. Calvin Ridley gets reinstated, so you add somebody. But the Jaguars also did lose somebody, and that was Jawan Taylor to the Kansas City Chiefs. Doug Peterson had not addressed that situation until earlier today. Here's what the Jaguar head coach had to say about losing Jawan Taylor.
You know, you hated to see him go, but I get it. That's part of our business, right? And that's what's going to happen. I wish him all the best and success in Kansas City, and but now it's for us. It's about moving forward. Walker Little's a great opportunity for him, to step up, and I do believe there's some good offensive linemen in this draft that, if the right guy's there, obviously, and we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out.
All right, so Calvin Ridley is an addition. Jawan Taylor leaves. Doug Peterson also talked about Evan Ingram and Arden Key, and we'll bring you those comments in just a little bit. But something has caught my attention late last week and then again today. Late last week on CBSSports.com, they put together their power rankings post-free agency, or at least the first big wave of free agency. And remember, they had the Jaguars as number 6 in the AFC. I think they were like number 9 overall, but they were number 6 in the American Football Conference. All right, that was interesting, but I didn't think too much of it. And then today, ESPN.com did the same thing. So ESPN did what CBS did last week. They put together their post-free agency power rankings. Number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Absolutely. Defending world champion. Not going to argue that at all. Number 2, the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, absolutely. Back-to-back AFC championship games, I would have both of those teams over Jacksonville. Then you have a couple of NFC teams, San Francisco and Philadelphia. ESPN then has number 5 as the Buffalo Bills. Just like CBS had Buffalo over Jacksonville currently. I think you can start having a conversation at this point. ESPN then had the Miami Dolphins at number 6. Again, above Jacksonville. The Los Angeles Chargers at number 7. Again, above Jacksonville. And then finally, the Jaguars came in at number 10. What does that make them? 5th in the AFC in these power rankings. There was a caveat put in here with the Jets. They were currently number 16, but they would rise into the top 10 if/when they actually acquire Aaron Rodgers. So that's 2 of the biggest sports websites on planet Earth. CBS Sports last week, ESPN this week. One had the Jaguars 5th in the AFC. The other had the Jaguars 6th in the AFC. So here's my question to you. And we've had a differing of opinion locally on this football team as opposed to the national pundits for years. Now, normally, we're all in agreement the Jaguars aren't going to be any good. But here locally, maybe because we're too close to it, too in the trenches, if you will, for a football term, too in the trenches into it. Normally we'll say, yeah, the Jaguars are going to be bad, but they're not going to be as bad as people making them out to be. They'll be 6-11, or they'll be 7-10. And then ultimately they go 3-14 or 2-15, just like the national guys said, and the national guys were right. Because they're not looking at it from a close view. They're looking at it from a mile-high view. Is that same thing happening here? Locally, we think the Jaguars are one of the best teams in the NFL. Certainly one of the best teams in the AFC. A top 3 team, a top 4 team. Well, the national guys obviously do not feel that way. As CBS had them as number 6 in the conference last week, ESPN has them as 5th in the conference this week. So is there a disconnect from how we feel about the Jaguars here to how they feel about them outside of Jacksonville? It appears there is. And I think the Jaguars are going to be very good. I do. But there is something to remember. They were 4-8 at one point. That is reality. They were 4-8. They beat Tennessee, which was a huge win, a really good win in Nashville. they came home and had a really good win against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, when they beat New York, they beat Zach Wilson and some caveman that they brought in as quarterback who just couldn't throw the ball. All he could do is run over people. I don't even remember the guy's name, but he was really fun to watch, but he couldn't functionally throw a ball down the field on that Thursday night rain game in New York. Then Jacksonville goes to Houston and beats an awful Texan team. Then they come home and beat Josh Dobbs in Tennessee. I remember Dobbs was only in Nashville for 12 days. And then they do beat the Chargers, but they had to come back from 27 to do it, and the Chargers, for what it's worth, were without Mike Williams.
The Jags beat Chris Streveler.
Streveler, yes. The caveman. That guy was a beast.
Yeah, he's inked up.
Streveler was a guy that if I'm in an alley fight, no offense, Denmark, I would rather have Streveler with me, but on a football field, I'd rather have you throwing the ball based on what I saw that Thursday night.
I appreciate it.
So let's look at that again, all right? 4-8. Now, they won 6 in a row. I'm not trying to poo-poo on what they did. I'm just looking at it from how the national guys may be looking at it. You beat Tennessee, good win. You beat Dallas, good win. You then beat Zach Wilson. You beat the Houston Texans, who were terrible. You beat Josh Dobbs. And you had to come from 27 down to beat the Chargers. So are the Jaguars as good, or were they as good in 2022 as we remember? Or is our opinion jaded a little bit because of a 6-game winning streak? 3 of those wins came against Streveler, the Texans, and Josh Dobbs. I don't know. I tend to believe that the Jaguars are good. And you don't win 6 in a row in the NFL by chance. I don't care who you're playing. And the Jaguars are going to carry that momentum into this year. They're returning 21 of the 22 guys that started that Kansas City playoff game. That's not even counting Cam Robinson, Ben Barch, and Calvin Ridley. I told you guys last week, I think the Jaguars right now are a better football team than when they walked off the field in Arrowhead 9.5 weeks ago. They've lost Jawan Taylor, which is their one starter that they lost. They lost Manhurts. No offense to him, but I think he can be replaced. And they lost Arden Key. And even though he helped build this city, I don't know why it's not called Keysville or Ardenville, because he built it with his bare hands, according to him. But we'll have to replace the 4.5 sacks he provided and the boombox that he brought out to the playing surface. That's what the Jaguars have lost. Taylor, Manhurts, and Key. And like I said, they've added Calvin Ridley. They bring back Cam Robinson. They bring back Ben Barch. So I think they're better. But if I'm a national guy, if I'm a guy that's putting these power rankings together on CBS or on ESPN, I get it. I get it. You won 6 in a row. Half of them were against terrible quarterbacks. Terrible. Zach Wilson and Streveler were awful for New York. Davis Mills is as below average as you can get in Houston, and Josh Dobbs was on the Titans for 12 days before he started the AFC South championship game. But despite all that, I'm still on the Jaguars bandwagon, man. And I think having them 6th in one power ranking in the conference and 5th in the other power ranking in the conference on CBS and ESPN respectively are absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, too low. I think right now I would have Kansas City over them. I would have Cincinnati over them. After that, I think there are conversations. Denmark and I think I would call it a spirited debate, a nice tussle in the pre-show meeting. I'll take you behind that radio dial, behind the radio curtain. Denmark and I have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the 14 minutes we meet in the office before the show. And we really got after it this evening. I almost needed a cigar afterwards. Leon seriously left me about 5 of his stogies. I almost needed one after this conversation. Denmark, were you sitting there trying to explain to me that you would have the Los Angeles Chargers right now higher than the Jaguars in the power rankings?
No, it's more of you're not understanding at all why the Chargers are ahead of the Jaguars, and I can see why the national media.
Please explain to me why. I would love to hear it.
Because, well, you take into a lot of consideration the Week 3 game. I really don't put much into the Week 3 game.
The 38-10,
yes.
Absolute annihilation the Jaguars gave them?
I look more at the playoff game and go, okay, if you could flip the uniforms, the Jags and the Chargers uniforms, and you could say, okay, the Jags had a massive lead going into halftime. In the second half, you ran the ball 6 times. This city would think, what? And it would all be, well, as the coaching staff, well, we didn't do this, well, we didn't do that. And you would feel like going into this offseason that, yes, the Jags made it to the first round of the playoffs and they lost, but we have a lot of potential moving forward.
You know what? That is a good argument. That is a solid argument. Here's my counter to that. They played twice. The Jaguars beat them twice. At the end of the day, if and buts are candies and nuts, right? If. At the end of the day, on the scoreboard, the Jaguars played the Chargers twice, and they beat them twice. That's number one. Number two, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. All right, let's call it a push, which I would take Lawrence, but I understand the argument. If you take Herbert, we'll call it a push. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams at wide receiver versus Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Calvin Ridley. I would probably take the Jaguars there. Austin Eckler wants out of L.A. Who knows if he'll be there opening day, and the Jaguars have Travis Etienne. Gerald Everett, I don't know if he'll be back in L.A., and the Jaguars have Evan Ingram. And then offensive line-wise, the Chargers' offensive line isn't any better than Jacksonville's. At best, it's an even push there. So if you're going to take every offensive position right now, starter, Chargers versus Jaguars, I don't know if I would take any position on the Chargers over the Jaguars. Defensively, you probably have some positions you would take L.A. over Jacksonville. I'll give you, obviously, Bosa and Mack and all those guys. But that defense, with Bosa, with Mack, with Derwin James, that was the Charger defense. They could not stop the Jacksonville Jaguars in the second half of that playoff game. So ESPN having the Chargers over the Jaguars in the power ranking this morning, to me, I think is bunk. Miami. Look, Miami added a lot of guys on defense. Jalen Ramsey, David Long, great defense. You don't know about Tua. How can you have Miami over Jacksonville with Tua's injury concerns? Trevor, by the way, if Tua's healthy, I would still take Trevor Lawrence. It wouldn't even be close. But you take Miami over Jacksonville, I don't see it. And Buffalo, look, I get it. This is a power ranking moving forward. This is not a power ranking about the 2021 season or the 2022 season. Who is going to be better in 2023? And for both ESPN and CBS to put Buffalo in over Jacksonville, why? Based on what? That Buffalo window of opportunity is starting to shut, whereas Jacksonville's is just opening. So I give you Kansas City, I give you Cincinnati. I have no argument there. After those two, I think Jacksonville is every bit in the conversation with any other team in the American Football Conference. We'll talk a little NFL. We'll talk some Evan Ingram, some Calvin Ridley, a little AFC South, and, of course, a little Florida Gator with former Gator All-American tight end Ben Troop. He is coming up in less than 10 minutes. Speaking of the Florida Gators, Billy Napier is coming to town for the spring speaking tour. Denmark, give the folks the specifics right now.
Yeah, I got a pair of tickets to see Billy Napier at the spring speaking tour on April 3rd at 6 p.m. at the Thrasher Horn Center. That's next Monday, April 3rd at 6 p.m.
All right, so next Monday, Florida Gator fans, if you want to go see the head ball coach, Billy Napier, if you want to have fellowship, some camaraderie with Billy Napier, if you want to ask him the hard-hitting questions there at the Thrasher Horn Center, simply be caller number 4 right now at 641-1010, and Dylan Denmark will hook you up with a pair of tickets to go see Billy Napier next Monday at the Spring Speaking Tour. Ben Troop, former Gator All-American tight end, coming up next on a Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark.
You don't want to do that. Oh, but I do.
Where fun and games are serious business.
What are you prepared to do?
He's crazy. We gotta stop him.
1010XL. Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Dreams Come True is the only local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
Her Song is a nonprofit organization that breaks the cycle of human trafficking through survivor care, victim outreach, and education. Find out how you can help at hersong.org.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
The 5-Star Veteran Center of Jacksonville is the place homeless veterans can go to recover, recharge, retrain, and reconnect. Learn more at 5starveterancenter.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Spring is a key time for selling homes in the Jacksonville area. Now's the time to hire the agents with a proven marketing plan to maximize the price of your home and fast. Now is the time to hire the team. We're recommending Chad and Sandy Newman. What do you get with Chad and Sandy.com? How about the Chad and Sandy guarantee? A guarantee your home is sold at an agreed upon price and deadline, or they'll buy it. So any problems you think may be out there, they're not there because Chad and Sandy can handle it for you. The real estate experts you can trust. Maybe you want to maximize your equity now while you can, but you're not sure where to move to next. Not a problem with Chad and Sandy, who, again, I don't know how much more of a guarantee you need. Your home will be sold at an agreed upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Go to chadandsandy.com. That's Chad, ANDSANDY.com, or call today at 904-414-6200. chadandsandy.com.
This is Hayes Carlyon for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Exciting news from Woody's Barbecue. Backed by overwhelming demand, Woody's presents their all-you-can-eat chicken special every Sunday with all the trimmings, just $12.49.
At Woody's Barbecue, it's what we do. Let's eat.
You will love your new windows and doors from Renewal by Andersen. The biggest sale of the year is going on right now. Get $300 off all windows and $825 off all patio doors. Plus, no money down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. This offer expires March 31st and restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. License number CGC 1527613.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 27, 1998, the Bulls and Hawks match up at Georgia Dome in front of 62,046 people, largest crowd in NBA history.
Instant Keys specializes in replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys provides expert service for nearly every foreign and domestic vehicle, including most luxury models. So don't be intimidated by today's high-tech automotive keys. At Instant Keys, you get dealership-level service at a fraction of the time and cost without the dealership hassle. For honest, professional locksmith service, call Instant Keys today, 722-1111.
Hayes Carlyon here, and let's talk of getting rid of pain with QC Kinetics. Get lasting relief from joint pain without surgery or drugs. QC Kinetics has clinics in Ponte Vedra and in Mandarin on San Jose. Call 904-274-5522. They've taken it to a whole new level with new medical director, Dr. Peter Atch, a renowned triple board certified doctor with decades of experience. Look, if you're tired of living with pain in your back, hips, shoulders, knees, don't let anyone tell you surgery is your only option. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. Call 904-274-5522. Learn how advanced regenerative medicine can get you real relief. Don't go under the knife. Don't deal with downtime. QC Kinetics takes the healing properties from your own body, concentrates them, and puts them into your affected joint to repair and restore the damaged tissue. QC Kinetics, call 904 904-274-5522.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Youth sports are getting back into full swing, so you know what that means. Custom Yetis so dads can keep their beer or sodas cold. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Florida spring football, right in the heart of spring football. The spring game is Thursday, April the 13th, and there is a lot going on around the National Football League, including right here in Jacksonville. For all that, let me welcome in my next guest, former Gator, All-American tight end Ben Troop. He is host of the 84 Reasons podcast, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ben, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man, Ryan. It's always a pleasure to be on with you, sir.
Hey, Ben, thank you for the time, as always. We will certainly talk Gator spring ball with you. When you have a former Gator All-American tight end, it's almost a requirement. But before we get there, I want to ask you about the tight end position in the NFL this offseason, Ben. You played at such a high level in college and with the Tennessee Titans, yet the tight end position this offseason not getting a lot of love, right? Dalton Schultz, a one-year deal in Houston. Mike Gesicki, a one-year deal in New England. Ben, why are these tight ends not getting long-term contracts, in your opinion?
I think it's a blessing and a curse. I think it's a blessing because it shows that these guys no longer are the times where these tight ends are getting $5 or $6 million a year. You talking about, well over, $10, $11 million a year, and they understand that, to make that type of sacrifice for these guys, you're gonna have to be able to go out there, pay some big money. The show situation, the Gesicki situation, I understand. It's a prove it deal. It's one of those things where you say, okay, we know what you can do. We're willing. I remember a time where when a tight end, a franchise tight end might have been $4 or $5 million. Now these guys are getting 1 year, $10 million deals, 1 year, $9 million deals. I know, Evan Ingram, which I know we'll get to. You saw what he was able to do on a 1 year deal, even though they franchised him to come back to Jacksonville. I just think it shows that the market for tight ends are changing. You got to negotiate with tight ends like you negotiated for a number one receiver, especially when he is your number one receiver. He just happened to have a tight end next to his name. So while I want to see these guys get long-term deals, I think what these guys are doing, these guys got more negotiating ability at these negotiating tables. They got more leverage. So don't look at it so much as these guys are 1 year deals. I think these guys are going in saying, listen, I'm going to bet on myself, because if you guys are trying to give me less than what my market value is, I can't take less money because I have to take the most money available, not just for me, but for the next tight end that's coming up for a big deal.
Yeah, Gesicki and Schultz, you could almost call them the Evan Ingram deals. They basically did the exact same thing this year, what Ingram did last year here in Jacksonville, a 1 year, $9 million deal. Ingram comes in, 70-plus catches, 750 yards. All of a sudden, now he's the Jaguars franchise player. Ben, the fact that Evan Ingram's going to be back here in Jacksonville, what does that do for Trevor Lawrence in this offense?
It makes it that much more comfortable. The thing about it is, you talk about going into the offseason, you get a Zay Jones, right? You talk about getting a Christian Kirk. You talk about a guy like Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram has never lacked talent. I remember Evan Ingram coming out of Powder Springs, Georgia, going to Ole Miss. You could not stop him at Ole Miss. I don't care who he was playing. And obviously he had his best games against teams like Alabama. Goes to a team like the Giants. The Giants was going through a lot of different coaches, a lot of different quarterbacks. It didn't work out. He goes to a team like Jacksonville that believes in what he does, gives him a 1 year prove-it deal, and he went out there and got it done. To me, when they needed plays made, take nothing away from those guys on the outside. I like Kirk and company, but Evan Ingram, they put him in a position where, look, man, we're going to put you in a position to show what you could do. Plays angry football, always has like a mean mug look on his face. I love Evan Ingram's game. I think he is built to be a Jacksonville Jaguar, and I say that because, people are starting talking about, what type of players are you looking for at Jacksonville? You're looking for guys that's going to be they are star players, but they rather be in a state. They rather not come off as like a prima donna type player. I think that the look of the Jacksonville Jaguars now on offense, led by Trevor Lawrence and the Travis Etienne, it's guys like Evan Ingram who come out there and say, "Look, man, when I'm coming from a team that drafted me that did not want to give me a long-term deal, I know what that's saying about me in the National Football League, but I want to come somewhere I'm celebrated." I loved his game last year, but what he did in 2022, I think it's going to be even more in 2023.
Former Florida Gator All-American tight end Ben Troop here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. You know, it's interesting, Ben. I don't know if you've ever heard this comparison, but when I see a guy like Ingram, as athletic as he is, I remember you at Florida and you with the Tennessee Titans. You were a tight end because that's what it said on the depth chart, but really you were almost like a wide receiver / tight end. You were a mismatch for, linebackers who could not cover you. Ingram's very similar, and Jacksonville really uses him in that way. So even though he's a tight end, he's more like a wide receiver, but I think that could be a sticky situation contract-wise because receivers, as you know, get paid more than tight ends, and we'll see what happens when it comes down to brass tacks if Ingram's going to sign long-term here in Jacksonville.
I think you will for this reason, though. Ryan, you want to make your money, right? You do want to make your money. I'm not taking that away, but I want to win, man. Like, I don't want to just be a guy that made a bunch of money, and every time we get to talking about going to playoffs, going to Super Bowls, the conversation ends. I mean, if you are a guy like Evan Ingram, you was in the bright. It doesn't get much brighter lights in New York City. I mean, I was at the New York Football Giants, but we weren't winning. I come down to Jacksonville, a guy, Coach Peterson, who understands winning, who has stripes on the wall, who has a Super Bowl championship, and a guy in Trevor Lawrence, who is going to be already one of the faces of the National Football League, especially being down 27-7 and winning the freaking playoff game against Justin Herbert and company. If you are Evan Ingram, he's saying two things on his side. Listen, dominant. We can win in the AFC South, and there's no state tax where I live, so I can still make really, really good money. You can't put a premium on winning. He wants to be in a place, one, where he celebrated, two, where he matters, and three, I get to still make my money. I think Jacksonville has that written all over. Plus, Trevor Lawrence gonna look at him and say, "Look, man, I ain't trying to tell you how to spend your money, man, but do you want to be a part of this thing or not? Do you want to be a part of the first and only Jacksonville team to ever go to a Super Bowl?" That's when you start talking about legacy type stuff. So I'm not counting this money for him, but if you took a 1-year deal, 2 years in a row, if it come time to do a long-term deal, I definitely, it's not going to be a hometown discount, but I do think they'll be able to give him a long-term deal that both sides can agree to.
Ben Troop here with us. Ben, we know you have orange and blue blood pumping through your veins, but you also spent a long amount of time and still do in the state of Georgia. I know how familiar you are with the Falcons and with Calvin Ridley and what he did up there. And now Calvin Ridley, officially reinstated, will be part of this Jaguar football team in 2023. Ben, he hadn't played in 2 years, and that's certainly a concern. But man alive, if Calvin Ridley is even 80% of the receiver he was when he left the game, boy, Jacksonville is going to get a good one.
I think they're going to get a great one. I think the thing about Calvin, really, he's been humble. He's a guy that's paid his debt to society, paid his debt to the National Football League, has been the laughing stock when you look at the situation that happened to him, and he's getting a second chance. I think sometimes when it happened, when everything went down with Calvin Ridley, I kind of felt like, when Plaxico Burress shot himself in New York. I know you're not supposed to have a gun, but I shot myself and I'm still going to go to jail. Like, I'm going to go to jail for shooting. I'm going to get kicked out for gambling. Yes, I should have been gambling on the Atlanta Falcons. I get that part. But you act like I did something, just the worst thing ever. I'm happy for Calvin Ridley because, one, I think he's going to a team that once again is celebrating him. But the boy can play football. I mean, the thing about it is, you talk about a guy who was ready to be a number one receiver. Julio Jones was moving on. He was ready to be the number one. You giving him a supporting cast. You giving him Kirk and Jones and Ingram. You giving him, Travis Etienne. That's not even counting what they do in the offseason in the draft. Doug Peterson said, "Look, man, I got a guy in Calvin Ridley who is aching, scratching to get back out there on the field. But like you said, Ryan, if he's even 80% of what he was, number one, they're going to dominate the AFC South. I don't see nobody in the AFC South dealing with them. But as far as like the AFC, That's a lot of firepower coming. You know, you bringing the guy in Calvin Ridley, who I think once again fits in with Jacksonville. Happy for him. Happy he got reinstated. But that's not going to bode well for any DB in the AFC South and going to have to step in front of that man in 2023.
Ben, you know what it takes to be in game shape in the NFL. You did it very well for a long time there with the Tennessee Titans. Ridley has not played a game since October of 2021, and we see the videos of him working out on the beach. He looks like he's in phenomenal shape. He's going to be part of OTAs and the offseason workout program beginning next month. But how long do you think it'll take Calvin Ridley, who's going to be 28 when the season begins, how long will it take him to get back into that, quote, game shape, in the NFL game shape that he needs to be in?
I'm not going to say it's going to be the offseason, because the thing about it is everything is, everything is pretty like close to the vest when you talk about the offseason. But as far as like, he's going to play in all the preseason games unless Coach Peterson just keep him out. I think, like, give him like 2 weeks in the training camp. Because the thing about Ridley is, man, you got to look at where he went. He went to Alabama. You don't go to Alabama if you can't deal with scrutiny. You don't go to Alabama if you don't want to be structured and disciplined. And he's using social media to show I'm still in great shape. Now, the thing about it is, ain't no DBs in front of you. Ain't no all-pro DBs in front of you. Ain't nobody trying to, you ain't dealing with the day in, day out grind. But I think really is a guy that's motivated. I think he's going to come in and understand. I'm never ever going to rewrite, as far as my history goes or what happened as far as the gambling, but as far as like my NFL career, before he got in trouble, he was a top 10 receiver. Say what you want about him. The guy can flat out get it done. And you finna add another red zone threat for Trevor Lawrence. You finna add another guy that can run every route on the route tree, that can play inside and outside. Like I said, once again, I'm happy for him. What's gonna help him out the most is where he's playing. You in that North Florida Heat, day in and day out. Listen, whatever shape he was in, he'll be in even greater shape. But once again, I just hope that injuries don't hinder him in 2023. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Couple of more for former Gator All-American tight end Ben Troop. Ben, after your time at Florida, you went to the Tennessee Titans. I got to ask about your former NFL team. I don't know if it's a rebuild, if it's a retooling. They've let a lot of people go. There's uncertainty about Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. I mean, what do you make of your former team and what they're doing this offseason?
It's a head scratcher. It really, really is a head scratcher. I mean, I am happy at the fact that Ryan, I never ever, how it's, it's definitely trying times, Ryan, when I'm saying things like it's good that Ryan Tannehill is still, in that two-tone blue. I don't know what they're going to do when it comes to Derrick Henry. Does he take a pay cut? Do they try to shop him? I don't know, because he's counting a lot of money against the salary cap. What's really hurt the Tennessee Titans is, man, they haven't been aggressive. I know that my former teammate, Rand Carthon, is a new GM there. They got to make some moves, because you're staring at a Jacksonville Jaguars team that two of their best players are on rookie contracts. And then they getting guys, they bringing in guys. You bringing the guy in Ridley. You talk about Jones. You talk about Kirk. You talk about Ingram. I know that Jawan Taylor's moved on to Kansas City, but you talk about a team that's built to win and win, not just now, but in the future. Rand Carthon got a lot. He's definitely got He's definitely got his work cut out for him, but it's been a head scratcher right now, because while you looking around the AFC South and teams are trying to make moves, it has been a huge head scratcher when you talk about Tennessee, because they must know something that we do not.
Ben, you mentioned Jawan Taylor. He got $20 million per, $60 million guaranteed. I'm never going to fault the guy for making his money. Good grief. But he hasn't played true left tackle since his sophomore year at Florida. So, I mean, we're talking 6-7 years ago. And reportedly, Kansas City is going to move him from right tackle to left tackle. Is that easy, or is that going to be more complicated than Kansas City believes?
Oh, it's going to be extremely complicated. I mean, Jawan Taylor has settled. The thing about tackles, they've been playing one side their whole career. That's what they specialize in. And I don't know if the pressure meter is going to be as high as it's ever going to be when you are protecting the blind side of Patrick Mahomes. Now, once again, Ryan, like you said, I'll take the money, but they coming off another Super Bowl, which they trying to get back to the Super Bowl. You talking about a division that's going to be, much more improved in 2023. I'm happy for Jawan Taylor being a former Florida Gator, everything he went through in Jacksonville to be able to get his money. But the money doesn't necessarily justify the production. You're going to have to produce, and you're getting paid Laramie Tunsil type money. You're getting paid that type money. And I think that when you're getting paid $20 million per, $60 million guaranteed, that's all pro type money. You might not be an all pro, but you better have all pro type, production. I know Jawan Taylor got it in him. I would feel more comfortable if he's going from Jacksonville to Kansas City still putting his right hand in the dirt. But the fact he's going from Jacksonville to Kansas City putting his left hand in the dirt, I don't know, because you got some big time pass rushers in that division. I wish him nothing but the best, but I don't think that's going to necessarily get it done. They said they're going to keep him at left because of the money. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up at right tackle if it's going to get the most production out of him.
Yeah, we hated to see Jawan Taylor leave, but that money was just not possible here with the Jaguars salary cap issues. Final moments with former Gator All-American tight end Ben Troop. Ben, let's end on your alma mater, the Florida Gators. Boy, it's been an interesting offseason. Assistant coaches leaving. We all remember the Jaden Rashada NIL situation that ended horribly, and now Rashadas at Arizona State. I look at that schedule this fall, Ben, and I see, at Utah, at LSU, Florida State, Georgia, at South Carolina. Also, you take into account Graham Mertz appears to be the starting quarterback. Give Gator fans something to be positive about, because a lot of them, at least here in Jacksonville, don't have a very bright outlook for the 2023 season.
I think the way to look at it is the Graham Mertz situation. But everybody said, well, listen, man, he wasn't that good of a player. We was up there. I will say this. You go back to when he came out, everybody wanted him. When I say everybody, Alabama wanted him, Georgia wanted him, Clemson wanted him. We talking about Dabo Swinney. We talking about Kirby Smart. We talk about Nick Saban. We talk about a guy who believes in what Billy Napier is doing. Now, this is the thing. In 2022, that's not how the Florida Gator offense is going to look, because you had a freak at quarterback. Nobody can do what Anthony Richardson can do. Just go back to the combine, right? 6'4", 244, running the 4.4, 41, whatever. Now you're going to have a true pocket passing quarterback who's going to have probably the best, one of the best tandem of running backs you're going to see, in Etienne and Johnson, and you get to add nuance with the passing game. I like our new defensive coordinator, a lot of energy when you say things like we're going to negotiate with a hammer. But I think that if you go back to a guy like Billy Napier, I get it. People keep calling him SoCon Billy because he hasn't really got it done. People keep saying it's St. Louisiana, and I get it. Ryan, just like I know, there isn't a more steep learning curve than coaching in the SEC. I don't care who you are, but this is the thing. If you talk about beating Kentucky in 2022, you talk about not losing to Vanderbilt in 2022, you're talking about completing, actually not throwing the ball, actually trying to even get an attempt at a Hail Mary against Tennessee. Who knows how that season goes? It comes down to this. Just like you pulled a rabbit out of the hat last year, first game against Utah, you got to do it against Utah, in week 0. You got to find a way to look competitive in Jacksonville. You can't lose to South Carolina, can't lose to Kentucky, can't lose to Tennessee at home. You got to find a way to, to make it look like a game with LSU, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not writing the ship saying it's going to be smooth sailing, but Ryan, just like I know, there are certain fans in life that you will not ever please, and they'll call the Florida Gator fans. I love them, but it don't matter unless you win the national championships. It don't matter because our previous coach went back-to-back New Year's Six bowls, and 2 years later he was fired. So the learning curve is going to be steep. I understand the expectations, but I want to see what Graham Mertz can do, and I think that Jack Miller going to make it very interesting come the fall season. But running game, offensive line, a new defensive coordinator, we still got to go out there and get it done. I like our chances.
Ben, give the Gator fans here in Jacksonville some info on your podcast, 84 Reasons. I know it's been a very, very successful show for you.
Yeah, the 84 Reasons podcast. Appreciate Eddie Rojas and Jen, those guys letting me be on the Gators Collective NIL platform. It's just a place where, I get a chance to talk to current, former, and future Gators. For Gators, by the Gators. I mean, no games, no gimmicks, just reasons, 84 Reasons. I really, really enjoyed it because, Ryan, when I first went into it, people thought it was going to be a football player talking to current and former football players. Man, I've spoken to, we talk about marathon runners, track athletes, softball, women's basketball. I haven't got golf and tennis yet, but I just want my podcast to be a catapult for people to start rooting for the person, not just a student athlete. I get that we all share the same love for the orange and blue, but I'm trying to get them to introduce themselves as the person. They just get to also root for the athlete.
He's one of our favorites here on 1010XL, former Florida Gator All-American tight end Ben Troop, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ben, appreciate the time. Gator fans, check out the 84 Reasons podcast, and Ben, we'll talk again soon, bud.
Appreciate it, Ryan.
There you go, Ben Troop here with us on Hacker After Dark. People forget how good Ben Troop was, particularly his senior year at Florida. He was an All-American, 638 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns for the Gators back in 2003. And I thought it was interesting. He was a college teammate of Ran Carthon, who's now the Tennessee Titans general manager. So he kind of gave us a little insight into what Ran Carthon is doing in Nashville. I'm not even sure if Titans media know what's going on up in Nashville. Is it a rebuild? Is it a retooling? What's the story with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry? Just bizarre things up there. I will tell you, though, and I want to get into this coming up next, we're going to go to Baltimore in about 20, 25 minutes. Luke Jones is our guy when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens. He's with WNST Radio in Baltimore. The Baltimore Ravens could give either Tennessee or Indianapolis what equivalent is to a get-out-of-jail-free card in Monopoly, right? Both of those teams have quarterback issues. Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill and his ridiculous contract, and they don't pick high enough to replace him. Indianapolis has nothing right now, and they're not going to have a chance for either Stroud or Bryce Young more than likely because they're going to go 1-2. But now that Lamar Jackson's requested a trade, you would think Tennessee would be pretty high on that list. You would think Indianapolis would be pretty high on that list. And that would be an awful scenario because Jacksonville's got the South dominated for the next few years at least with Trevor Lawrence here and the other quarterback situations. If Lamar Jackson comes into the division, that could change some things. So we'll talk about that. We also have over-under win totals for every team in the NFL. I got to tell you something. I see what CBS Sports has as an over-under win total for the Jaguars. I think it's a little low. We'll talk about that as well. More to do. NFL talk coming up with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. As always, Jacksonville, we are streaming for your viewing pleasure on Twitter. Just go to @1010XL on Twitter. You'll see the show there until 10 o'clock tonight. Likewise, on YouTube, just search 1010XL. When you do, you'll see Hacker After Dark pop up there, and you can watch the show until 10 o'clock this evening. More on the Jaguars and a look around the National Football League. That's next on a Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Now you can watch 1010XL.
Oh, you've worked in television?
No, but I watch a lot of it.
Search 1010XL Video, all one word, on YouTube to watch shows, podcasts, and more.
Yes, we do have availability. Those dates for how many guests?
Andrea's Boutique Hotel is the destination to tie the knot.
Oh, you want the whole property?
She needs an assistant to catch the bookings bouquets.
249 guests, huh? Oh, and 3 dogs.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Hello, Jacksonville. This is Greg McGarity, President and CEO of Gator Bowl Sports. The TaxSlayer Gator Bowl game and events have been a Jacksonville staple for more than 75 years. We support more than 4,200 local youth annually through Gator Bowl charities. Gator Bowl Sports is a perfect way for local companies and individuals to get involved. We'd love to meet with you and talk about how you can join our team. If you'd like to learn more, contact us at 798-1700, 798-1700.
This is Coach Ellen Darley of Darley's Plumbing with a quick tip about what a hockey slap shot is. And I don't mean the kind that the Fresh Prince is now famous for. Ow. A hockey slap shot is when a player swings the stick back to shoulder height, then quickly downswings in a slap motion that can send the puck flying so fast It's practically unstoppable. If you have plumbing problems that seem unstoppable, call my team at Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts, or online at darleysplumbing.com.
License number CFC 056702.
A big win for the Florida Gators.
Get inside the Gators with the Florida Gator Report.
I'm Taylor Dahl, and I'm your Gator Updater. Listen for the Gator Report several times a week on 1010XL.
Brought to you by Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts.
Honda has done it again with their all-new exciting SUV and truck lineup for 2023. HRV, Pilot, Passport, Ridgeline trucks, and our popular CRV Hybrid. This is without a doubt Honda's most impressive lineup. Visit your local Honda dealer today. We're dealing.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Jacksonville has some junk, and J-Dog is removing it. They're here to do the dirty work. You don't want to remove and dispose of large furniture or appliances yourself? Call J-Dog. Here now, proudly serving you, removing junk from your home or business. They can even handle small demolition projects, and they're still donating local items to veterans in need. So let J-Dog do the dirty work for you. J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran-owned and operated. JDog.com.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to Cam Locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
Coming through in the clutch. David Garrard for Clearwater Seamless Gutters. You all know Clearwater installed my sprinklers, but recently John Haney's Clearwater Gutter Division installed beautiful 6-inch seamless gutters for my home in Jacks Beach, and they work great.
Dave, that's awesome to hear. Now jump in. We're fixing to sing.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Colorectal cancer is the third most common cancer in men and women. March is Colorectal Awareness Month, and if you're over age 45, get screened for any signs and symptoms. Visit Ackerman Cancer Center, where their experts can see you same or next day at ackermancancercenter.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
You know, obviously, they're all priority. You know, we know Evan and what he meant to the football team last year. And, you know, so even though the franchise tag and all that, you know, we placed on him, but just having him back for another year is you know, critical to, you know, the success of our offense, right?
There's no doubt about that. That's Jaguar head coach Doug Peterson earlier today out at the NFL owners meetings in Phoenix, Arizona, talking about Evan Ingram back with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has not signed anything yet, but of course they did franchise Evan Ingram. And it's really weird, right, how the tight end market this year, I mean, you think about it, Ingram gets franchised, so he comes off the market. The next two guys, Dalton Schultz of Dallas and Mike Gesicki of Miami, both went almost a week without signing, and ultimately they take Evan Ingram-type deals, right? 1 year, $9 million, almost those prove-it deals that Ingram did here in 2022. That's what Schultz did in Houston. That's what Gesicki did in New England. So Evan Ingram, even with the franchise tag, is going to make over $2.5 million more this year than Dalton Schultz and then Mike Gesicki. So will a long-term deal be worked out? Who knows? Again, the Jaguars and Ingram have until mid-July to do that. If that cannot happen, if he signs the one-year franchise tender, then he is the Jaguars' tight end for at least 1 year, and he will go back into free agency at the end of the 2023 season. So the Jaguars bringing back Evan Ingram, getting Calvin Ridley reinstated. We heard earlier what Doug Peterson said about the loss of Jawan Taylor. Doug Peterson also today, out at the owners' meetings, was asked how the Jaguars plan on replacing Arden Key, who, of course, according to him, helped build the city of Jacksonville.
And then in Arden's case, I mean, yeah, he was, a one-year guy that had an impact on defense. He was a leader, in the locker room, and he was a part of the team's success. And it's hard to replace. But, again, you look to the draft, right? You look to the draft, edge rushers, D tackles, whatever it might be that can come in and help replace. And that's what I'm talking about. You're going to lose some guys, but you have to be right on your draft picks, whether it's offensive line, whether it's the D-line, whether it's running back, whether it's receiver, whoever it might be. Ultimately, we mentioned earlier about the quarterback position. You got to be right on those guys, and because that's the success of your team long term.
Yeah, Doug Peterson taking the high road there on Arden Key. Of course, Arden Key, when he was introduced last week in Nashville, and again, I mean, I think even I'm probably making it a little bigger than it is, but I know Jaguar fans, you were upset by it. When Arden Key says he helped build the city, helped build the organization, he was here 9 months. He had 4.5 sacks and 15 quarterback hits. Give me a break. 26 tackles. I think Arden Key is replaceable. But I was talking, I believe it was Hayes Carline and I were having a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he brought up a really interesting point. And it's one that I've been thinking about more after Jawan Taylor left to Kansas City. Think about the Jaguar offensive starters right now, all right? The impact players for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got Travis Etienne. You got Cam Robinson, Luke Fortner, Walker Little, and I think that's it, as guys that were drafted by the Jaguars. They went out in free agency and got Brandon Sheriff and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram and traded for Calvin Ridley. You then go to the defensive side of the ball, where, again, the Roy Robertson Harrises and the Foley Fadakasis and the Foye Aluakans and the Darius Williams and the Rayshawn Jenkins were all free agents. Of the Jaguars' 22 starters, I think 11 or 12 of them were free agents. Translation, the Jaguars got to do a better job in the draft. They got to do a better job not only drafting players, but re-signing them to second contracts. He did not re-sign Jawan Taylor to a second contract. So that is an area that the Jaguars need to improve. Now, again, Trent Baalke has not had that opportunity. A lot of these guys that did not re-sign were Dave Caldwell guys. Now that Trent Baalke's here, we'll see if that changes. But you'd like to have a better ratio, homegrown talent to free agents, more so than what the Jaguars do. The Jaguars have more free agent additions right now than homegrown talent, and that certainly needs to change in the coming years. Mention Lamar Jackson. We're about to go to Baltimore and talk to Luke Jones of WNST Radio in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson apparently requested a trade back on March 2nd. He went public with that today on social media. Jaguar fans, I would pay attention to this. Not only do you play Baltimore next year, but Indianapolis needs a quarterback. Arguably, Tennessee needs a quarterback. You look at the betting odds, those are two of the higher teams that could potentially be interested in Lamar Jackson. You don't want that. Right now, Jacksonville has a stranglehold on this division because we have Trevor Lawrence and the other teams in the division don't. But if Lamar Jackson were to come in, that would change some things. Let's go talk to Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore. Get the latest on the Lamar Jackson soap opera. Also throw in a Calais Campbell question or two. Will he be back in Baltimore? Or do the Jaguars have a good chance in bringing the mayor of Saxonville back to Duval County to finish his playing career? Luke Jones in Baltimore is next on Hacker After Dark.
Ever wonder how Dan and Jeff got hired at 1010XL?
I'm just looking to hire guys that I don't mind hanging out with.
The Drill.
You guys seem like cool guys.
Mornings.
Let's do this. You guys are hired, unless you're like the weirdest guys ever and I don't see it.
On 1010XL.
Great.
Hey Jacksonville, this is Crystal, COO with Remedy Staffing. As employers, labor trends continue to keep us guessing. Is the job market strong? And what is worker availability going to look like? Well, February's BLS job report indicated that we have a hot job market and that Jacksonville's unemployment rate is 2.5%, 1% lower than our national average. So if you're interested in workforce solutions and how our team can help you, please call or text me at 904-329-9802.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
This week, make your plans to visit Ronnie's Repair Shop on Thursday and Friday for their Toro Field Day sales event. That means the lowest sale prices of the year on Ronnie's huge inventory of commercial-grade Toro equipment, including zero-turn mowers, stand-ons, and walk-behinds. Financing is available if you qualify, so whether you manage your lawn or a lawn care business, plan to be at Ronnie's Repair Shop, Sunbeam Road, this Thursday and Friday for their Toro Field Day sales event.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Need to enhance your home's curb appeal? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Replacing with new stone pavers will transform your driveway into a stunning work of art. Say goodbye to unsightly concrete and hello to beautiful, durable pavers that last for years. Visit Stonecore today and let's beautify your home together. Stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Love seafood and want only the freshest seafood in Jacksonville? Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach should be your first choice when craving anything from Mayport shrimp to fresh oysters. So when you're out at the beach, stop at the beach's best oyster bar for the last 40-plus years. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner to fill that seafood craving. Fully renovated with more seating to serve the freshest seafood around. Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, locally owned by Safe Harbor Seafood.
On the outside, everything looks fine. But on the inside, an unseen enemy is plotting the destruction of your home. Termites can be deadly to your home unless you fight back with Southern Fumigation. 259-9811. They will service your home from inspection to completion. No contracting out your job to other companies. 259-9811. Southern Fumigation offers a free pest inspection with no obligation. That's Southern Fumigation, 259-9811.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I said yes to Yas, Dr. Mitchell Yas, and the Yas Method. Now, I know you've probably tried medications, treatments, injections, even surgery. Maybe the reason you're still in pain is because they're treating the wrong thing and not addressing the root causes. Well, I know from personal experience, this does happen. But I found the best-kept secret in pain elimination, Dr. Yas and the Yas Method. Call him today, 904-906-YASS, and say yes to Yas.
Your joints are talking to you, right? They're saying, hey, something's not right. You didn't listen because you thought the pain would go away in a week or two, but it's not going away.
Football legend Emmitt Smith knows you've got to listen to your body. Never ignore what it's telling you. And when it sends pain signals, don't wait. Get ahead. Stop it in its tracks with a visit to the nation's leader in joint pain relief.
That's QC Kinetics. Yeah, they are way ahead of the curve in this pain treatment business.
QC Kinetics says no to invasive surgeries and harsh drugs. They've found a better, natural way to relief, using your body's own healing properties that you were born with. And it takes place same day, right in the office during your appointment. No surgeries and no downtime.
Before that pain goes next level, get ahead of it. Go see QC Kinetics. Stop it in its tracks.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The National Football League owners meetings going on out in Phoenix, and boy, day number one did not come without some big news, as apparently Lamar Jackson has requested a trade out of Baltimore. He went on social media earlier today. Apparently that trade request came at the beginning of this month. Has he played his final game as a Baltimore Raven? For the very latest, let's go to our guy up in Baltimore, Luke Jones, WNST Radio, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Luke, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Luke, we're good. Thank you for the time, as always. All right, so it's been a soap opera, right, going back a couple of years now with this contract with Lamar Jackson, but he goes on social media earlier today and basically thanks the Raven fans. Almost seems like he's saying goodbye to the Baltimore fan base, as apparently he requested a trade at the beginning of March. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of said it. It's an ongoing saga. Certainly there have been more twists and turns and some, frankly, bizarre developments. If you go back to last week with Ken Francis, his business partner, has been contacting teams on his behalf. But Lamar pulled back the curtain early Monday morning as John Harbaugh was getting ready to speak at the owners' meetings out in Phoenix, that not only had he requested a trade, but he requested a trade about 3.5 weeks ago. So, certainly jarring to 99.9% of us, media included, because, if there's one thing you can say about this this negotiating process, it's that the Ravens and Lamar, probably to a little lesser extent him, but both sides have been quiet for the most part in terms of their dealings with one another. So, when the initial shock wore off of Lamar announcing he had requested a trade, that's when you start to say, okay, well, this happened 3.5 weeks ago. It's been, the silence has been deafening in terms of teams not being interested, teams not negotiating. Certainly hadn't signed an offer sheet as someone that was on the non-exclusive franchise tag and was eligible to do so. That's where you kind of look at this thing and say, okay, from a perception standpoint, sure, the outside world is fully aware of this now, but does it really change anything? And that's where I kind of struggle with this thing, with all the variables. What Lamar is asking in terms of compensation, fully guaranteed deal, and the Deshaun Watson contract, the 2 first-round picks that were already attached to him if you wanted to go the offer sheet route, him not having an agent, the injuries the last couple of years, where he's missed roughly a third of their snaps over the last 2 seasons, his style of play and how well it ages, what kind of offense they're going to play, have around him. There are a lot of variables at work here, and it's been really complicated. So, a long answer for your question as far as has Lamar Jackson played his last snap with the Ravens, I'm not sure. We've seen plenty of players make trade requests, and then they either realize the market's not there and they come crawling back to the team, or the original team gives in. So I'm not saying that either of those options are going to happen either, but what I've been writing, what I've been saying on our airwaves at WNST in Baltimore, telling fans, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where this thing is, and doesn't necessarily feel that there's going to be a very swift resolution, now 2+ years into contract talks. So it was certainly fascinating. It was certainly, just surprising just to know that, something had officially been requested on Lamar's part. But at the same time, that's when you step back and say, okay, that's been the case for 3.5 weeks now. And well, he hasn't been traded yet. So that's where you kind of look at it and say, is something going to be in the cards, or are we going to just continue this holding pattern that the Ravens and Jackson have found themselves in?
Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Luke, from our perspective, look, we know we're going to pay Trevor Lawrence. There's no secret to that. He's going to get massive dollars. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, the same thing. Los Angeles, Justin Herbert, the same thing. From the outside point of view, and again, you're a lot closer, which is why we love having you on, it appears there's some trepidation on the Baltimore side to give Lamar Jackson big money. Is that accurate, and if so, why?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on what your definition of big money is. I mean, the Ravens, and this was reported by ESPN back in September, offered $133 million fully guaranteed at signing. That's not including injury guarantees, which are essential guarantees, but fully guaranteed at signing, $133. That's the second highest amount in NFL history. Now, when you start putting in, the rolling guarantees and injury guarantee for year two, that takes it up to, I think it was off the top of my head, $175 million. So, what you just said, the assumption you just made about Trevor Lawrence with Jacksonville, Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, Justin Herbert with the Chargers, that's working under the assumption that none of them are going to be requesting a fully guaranteed deal under Deshaun Watson. And I have no idea if they will or not. So that's where this is complicated. And that's where I think some of the discourse that you've seen in the national media, that the Ravens have, vastly disrespected Lamar Jackson, or, I think, no, they haven't given him what he's wanted, but that to suggest that it's been some kind of wild lowball kind of offer, I think that's, that depends on how you view the Deshaun Watson deal. Is that the new, the new standard? Is that the new precedent that's been set? Well, a couple quarterback contracts since then were not full guarantees. So, you look at that, or do you view it as, and this is the stance that the Ravens haven't publicly said, but it's pretty evident. They've said, we're not taking our cues on how we do business from the Cleveland Browns, who've been one of the worst professional franchises in sports over the last 25 years. So, that's where I kind of look at this thing and say, there's a lot more nuance involved here. Now, again, if the Ravens were offering a deal that was only the fifth highest in terms of fully guaranteed money or something like that, then yeah, I mean, I don't think there'd be any debate there. But their stance has basically been, based on the information that's been reported, that they view the Watson deal as an outlier, but they've kind of, other than that, they've put him right at near or top of market. So that's where it's just been complicated here. And I totally respect Lamar Jackson's position as well, in saying, well, if Deshaun Watson can get this, and I've been a better player than him, and I certainly haven't had the off-field baggage that he carries with him, then why wouldn't I get that? So that's where that's where these sides have been for the last calendar year, just being at an impasse in terms of what they both feel is an appropriate price point. So, again, if all those other quarterbacks that you mentioned kind of go the more traditional market value route of a quarterback contract, everyone other than Deshaun Watson essentially, then yeah, I think that hurts Lamar, as far as his quest. But, at the same time, if all these quarterbacks band together, then we're talking about a, much different conversation. So it's just the biggest thing that I've found that most people that have talked about this, it's lacked the proper nuance. There have been a very complicated set of variables at work here, that I understand the Ravens' position. At the same time, I understand Lamar's position. I don't know if he's necessarily gone about it the right way, specifically with the lack of an agent and how complicated it is to try to get a contract of this magnitude. But I can certainly understand him asking for that. So here we are now, as we're now in late March, and the Ravens continue to have this offseason that's basically been hijacked an impasse, however you want to call it. Again, not even blaming one side or the other, but it's led to them to just be in this indefinite holding pattern with their franchise quarterback, which whoever's to blame is not a place you want to be.
Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore. That's certainly a fair point with what Baltimore did reportedly offer Lamar Jackson. And I guess, Luke, the way I look at it too, and tell me if I'm wrong here, you look at the way Lamar Jackson plays. He's obviously a very skilled passing quarterback. I'm not saying that he's not, but let's be honest. Lamar Jackson's game, a lot of it is very much athleticism, very much using his legs, and that opens up, passing plays down the field and whatnot. And 23-year-old Lamar Jackson compared to 30-year-old Lamar Jackson, there may be a little bit of a difference there. So do you think there's any trepidation by Baltimore saying, well, all right, is Lamar going to be the same guy in 2025 that he has been, the previous 6-7 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think how could you not at least pose that question, especially on the heels of him having missed the last 5 games of each of the last 2 seasons, and the last 6 games this past year, counting the wild card playoff loss in Cincinnati. I think we've got to find the middle ground here. All the nonsensical, and I'm not even, what you just said, it obviously doesn't fit this description, but the nonsensical talk of, Lamar's a running back, he can't throw, yada, 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 which is ridiculous. He's more than proven that he's much more than that. However, he's also not Tom Brady back there where he's just playing from the pocket all day long and throwing 45 times and takes off for -2 yards once or twice a game. So where is the middle road between acknowledging and not even, throw out the scenario of a career-ending injury? Because I've also found that to be the point's noted, but I find it a little disingenuous, especially when we saw what happened with Dak Prescott just a couple years ago. But where is the middle road between saying, all right, he's not a running back, but we also acknowledge that running backs and all athletes who have elite athleticism, there's been studies on this. Generally, as you get older, you slow down a little bit, right? I mean, that's just nature. That's human nature for all of us. We get out of bed in the morning, common Joes. So you have that, but also acknowledging that, Lamar's not Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Joe Burrow, who plays primarily from the pocket. How can we not at least ask the question, not that he's going to have a career-ending injury, but when he starts to slow down, if he does, if he wears down at a little bit more of an accelerated rate because of all the running that he's done, in the way that we look at running backs, look at how Zeke Elliott's perceived right now compared to 5 years ago. I mean, it's just, that's part of it. Doesn't mean he had a career-ending injury. He's not the guy he was 5 years ago. So as it pertains to Lamar and his long-term value, all of what I just mentioned, I don't think disqualifies him whatsoever from your more traditional top-of-market quarterback contract that we've kind of seen this process play out. It's cyclical. The next guy who's up generally becomes the highest paid quarterback for X number of weeks or months, and then the next guy gets paid. I don't think that disqualifies Lamar whatsoever from that conversation. But if you're talking about the fully guaranteed deal and understanding what that means and what strain and challenges that puts on you from a roster building standpoint and just a cap and accounting standpoint, then it absolutely has to be part of it. And I think that's a big reason why you're seeing so little interest in him, coupled with all the other variables at work too. So, look, is there some collusion going on? I mean, look, we're talking about billionaires here. I'm sure there's plenty that they collude on, so it wouldn't shock me. But at the same time, you and I just laid out, and we're not billionaires. It's not our money. We just laid out some very sound and fair questions on why you would be reluctant to do that. So I think that's absolutely part of it. And that's saying that, speaking, about the Ravens, who absolutely love the guy. I mean, they drafted him. They replaced the Super Bowl winning quarterback with him 5 years ago. So they clearly love the guy, but that doesn't mean you just necessarily unconditionally give him whatever he wants. And that's where we are with this impasse.
Yeah, we've certainly taken notice of this story in Jacksonville, depending on what rumors you want to believe. And again, it's rumor season right now in the NFL. Reportedly, Tennessee and Indianapolis, 2 teams who the Jaguars compete with in the AFC South, may have legit interest in Lamar Jackson. He requests a trade earlier today, so we will see how that plays out. Final moments with Luke Jones of WNST Radio in Baltimore. Luke, I got to ask you about Calais Campbell. The Ravens released him a couple of weeks ago. Calais Campbell obviously had 3 great years here in Jacksonville. He visited the Jaguars last week. He is still unsigned. Who knows what the future holds there? Is there any chance Campbell returns to Baltimore, or will he be playing in another uniform in this upcoming season?
I mean, I certainly think there's a chance, but so much of this is just tied to Lamar Jackson's contract situation and how complicated that's been. I mean, the Ravens only on this past Friday made their first outside addition of the offseason. It was Nelson Aguilar on a 1-year deal, which certainly isn't going to fix their wide receiver room. So they love Calais Campbell, the player. But the reality was he was owed, I think it was $7 million he was owed. He had a cap figure of $9.4 million. I do think, and I know that they talked about adjusting that, but the timing of it, he was released, I think it was 2 days before the new league year officially opened. That leads you to believe that probably it was a cut that the Ravens wanted him to take that was too much for Calais. And look, he still plays at a high level. Even if he's going to be entering his age 37 season, he's 1 sack shy of 100 for his career. I know talking to him on Locker Cleanout Day, that was something that he acknowledged. That's not driving his decision-making to keep playing, but it was part of it. So I think, long story short, I think the Ravens would certainly love to have him back, but I just don't know if it's going to work out financially. And as we've seen, whether it's Jacksonville or a number of other places that have shown interest, there's still a market for him. I don't think it's necessarily going to be lucrative, but Calais Campbell could still help a contending football team. I have no doubt about that. And for your guys' sake in Jacksonville, I think it'd be a cool story of seeing him go back to the Jaguars, especially on the heels of a playoff season.
Yeah, there are a lot of Jaguar fans that hope Calais Campbell, the mayor of Saxonville at one point is what they called him, would come back here to finish his great NFL career. Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore. The Jaguars will see the Baltimore Ravens again this year as the Jaguars do play the AFC North in 2023. Luke, always appreciate the time. We'll do it again around OTAs or so when we start our division preview. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, Ryan. Be well.
It's the fastest sport on 4 wheels.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line.
This Sunday at Richmond, brought to you by Famous Automotive Tire and Quick Lube, servicing every customer like they're famous. On your NASCAR station, 1010XL.
So I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $30,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $80,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition and no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted into the program, your only costs are the books and the course fees, around $700 a year.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org.
Apply by May 18th.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Quitting tobacco isn't easy. In all honesty, it's a very hard thing to do. The good news is Tobacco Free Florida is here to help you quit your way. When you call Tobacco Free Florida's phone quit service at 1-877-YOU-CAN-NOW, you'll connect to a quit coach who will help you assess your addiction. You may also qualify for free nicotine patches or gum. So call us at 1-877-YOU-CAN-NOW to double your chances of success. No judgments, just help.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
1991, we played Boston College. Tommy Mack had like 15 tackles. 19. Oh, I'm sorry. That's 19. Okay, took 4 but away it was from 19.
Tom McManus, Friday from 10 to noon on 1010XL. Brought to you by Renewal by Andersen. A better way to a better window.
Hey, folks, Hickett here for Zero Res. If you're like me, you're getting the itch to de-junk and do some major spring cleaning. The problem is most of us hate throwing things away. I just close my eyes and let the wife do it. Next, though, we'll have the Zero Res truck clean the carpets, the sofa, and deep clean the tile and grout. What a great time to get all the floors cleaned. And right now, you get 20% off tile and grout deep cleaning. 20% off tile and grout. Zero Res, man. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
When it comes to commercial fence services, Superior Fence and Rail has you covered. If your business needs automatic gates or security fence and railings, trust Superior with your next commercial project. Superior's team delivers great communication, high-quality products, and exceptional customer service. Just read any of their 2,300-plus reviews.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Heilman from the brand new Fourscore Golf Tavern. We do elevated food, drinks, and golf simulator fun. If you're looking for a delicious meal or maybe a spot for a client, we have lunch specials every day. Need to entertain a few people from out of town? Easy. Just reserve one of our 4 simulator bays. Lunch service starts at 11 a.m. daily. Located in San Marcos Square, we'll see you at lunch at Fourscore Golf Tavern.
Servicing every customer like they're famous. But what does that mean for you? It comes down to the famous philosophy. You'll find a consistency at all 20 locations in friendly service, honest pricing, and realistic time expectations. They know when you find someone you trust to maintain your vehicle, keep it running right, and lasting longer, you'll stick with them. And that's the famous philosophy at Famous Automotive in Quick Lube. Ask about a fleet account for your business.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Monahan Jewelers is your local family jeweler for 44 years with a huge selection of GIA certified diamonds, gold, fine gemstone and diamond jewelry, and designer brands from all over the world. With our interest-free financing, we make it easy to acquire the perfect gift. Monahan Jewelers also specializes in custom jewelry design with thousands of customers all across Jacksonville. Come experience our beautiful selection of fine jewelry at your local family jeweler, Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Instant Keys specializes in replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys provides expert service for nearly every foreign and domestic vehicle, including most luxury models. So don't be intimidated by today's high-tech automotive keys. At Instant Keys, you get dealership-level service at a fraction of the time and cost without the dealership hassle. For honest, professional locksmith service, call Instant Keys today, 722-1111.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
NCAA tournament, the Final Four coming up this weekend. We'll do a lot of Final Four talk. In fact, we'll begin it coming up here in less than 10 minutes. I'll be honest, I am late to the party, as I'm sure almost everybody listening right now is, on Florida Atlantic. FAU with a former Gator assistant and Dusty May on their way to the Final Four. It's only their second NCAA tournament appearance ever. The first one was 20 years ago, right? 2002. Now they're in it for the second time, and they're 2 wins away from a national championship. What an amazing, amazing story. Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post, he covers Florida Atlantic. He was up at Madison Square Garden this past weekend watching FAU beat both Tennessee and Kansas State, and he will join us in less than 10 minutes to kind of give us the lay of the land when it comes to FAU and Dusty May. And look, people on Twitter, again, Denmark, you know my philosophy on Twitter. Twitter is a trash can.
Twitter's a garbage can.
It is a garbage can. About 95% of the time. It is just awful. All I said on Saturday night when FAU beat Kansas State, I even said that I'm kind of saying this tongue-in-cheek, but there's no way Florida would get rid of Todd Golden after 1 year based on what Dusty May is doing at FAU. And I put right, like question mark. And I was an idiot, and it was a terrible take, and this, that, and the other. Hey, Gator fan, get off your high horse and realize something.
Matt Hayes?
No, not Matt. Actually, that's funny. One of them was Matt Hayes. That was getting onto my case. Hey, Gator fan and Matt Hayes, who is an objective broadcast journalist, realize this. Somebody is going to hire that guy. Now, I know there are buyouts and there is this, that, and the other, but what on earth loyalty do you have to Todd Golden right now? Seriously. You're going to be the same people that want Todd Golden fired next year when Florida doesn't make the tournament again. So take a good hard look in the mirror if you think that was an outrageous take about getting rid of Todd Golden and talking to Dusty May, who is 2 wins away from a national championship at Florida freaking Atlantic, and he was a former assistant at Florida. Because whatever unbridled loyalty you have for Todd Golden is going to be gone next year when Florida doesn't make the tournament again. So if you're going to blow it out, just blow it out. Yeah, hey, look, and I'm rooting for Todd Golden. I was not happy with what I saw in year 1. It was not good. You can say Colin Castleton getting hurt, and yeah, that was a factor. Florida wasn't going to the tournament when Castleton was healthy. And here's a former Gator assistant that's taken FAU to only their second NCAA tournament appearance ever, and they're going to the Final Four. And boy, what a scene it would be in South Florida if FAU can knock off San Diego State and Miami can knock off UConn, and you would have Miami and FAU for the national championship of college basketball a week from tonight. That would be absolutely incredible. FAU is a great story. Miami is a great story. Heck, San Diego State is a great story. But as I see it, UConn just looks like an unstoppable machine. You beat Gonzaga by 30, you might be an unstoppable machine at this point. But I want to find out more about FAU. How did we get here? Who exactly is Dusty May? And how is Florida Atlantic all of a sudden 2 wins away from a national title in college basketball? Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post. He covers FAU. He was in Madison Square Garden this past weekend for the first time ever. This is an emotional moment for you FAU alums here in Jacksonville. We're going to talk Florida Atlantic basketball. And with good reason, because they're in the Final Four. And we're going to do it next, right here on Hacker After Dark.
Second and goal for the 5-yard line.
Hear the voice of the Jaguars, Frank Frangie.
2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Crowd getting involved.
Afternoons on the Frangie Show.
Victory formation for Jacksonville.
On 1010XL.
It's time to play Fix That Plumbing Problem. What do you do if you have a clogged drain? Contestant 1?
Use a different drain?
No, that doesn't really fix the problem. Contestant 2? That's right. Just call the duck.
Don't let plumbing problems linger. Call the pros at Duck Duck Rooter. Commercial, residential, any plumbing issue or project.
When you're stuck, call the duck. 904-862-6769.
Spring into clean at Liquid Sunshine, a family-owned car wash committed to superior customer service, offering veteran, first responder, family, and fleet discounts. Come experience the newest and friendliest car wash in town with over 90 5-star reviews. Friendly people, daily specials, and a clean, shiny car every time. Special offer, wash your car today for just $10. Only at Liquid Sunshine Car Wash on Southside Boulevard near Hogan Road. Get your shine on.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Cataracts can take a toll on the quality of a loved one's life. Maybe it's even your parents or someone close to you. Hey, Hicken here. I've been talking to you about Bowden Eye. And it turns out renowned cataract care is right here at Bowden Eye & Associates. Their doctors help those with cataracts feel hopeful, sometimes for the first time in a long time. If someone you love is suffering from cataracts, schedule a visit for a personal consultation. 3 locations to serve you, including the new office on County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
Have brunch with Dan, Jeff, and members of the PGA Tour.
What's the matter? You on a diet? You ain't hungry?
Tour news, tips, and inside info brought to you by
Clearwater Irrigation.
Well, that
should be enough to do it. 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is teaming up with the NFL to inspire change. From now to draft day, Big Brothers Big Sisters is following the NFL draft, aiming to recruit potential bigs. Hi, I'm Brent from the 1010 sales team. I'm committed as a mentor, and we need you to step up and become a mentor too. There's a waiting list of more than 50 children hoping for a mentor. It's just a few hours a month. Be a mentor. Become a big. Visit bbsnefl.org. Be a mentor or visit Big Brothers Big Sisters and click on Big Draft.
Now is the perfect time to make sure your home is protected from storms by scheduling a complimentary roof inspection with Universal Roof and Contracting. Protect your biggest investment, your home. Get $500 off a full roof replacement and $250 off roof repairs. This offer expires March 31st and restrictions apply. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 133-0147, CBC 125-8484. UniversalRoof.com. Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods, and happy to report that Dandy has some brand new goodies, and they're only available at select Gate stores around town. 5 delicious new breakfast items to start your day off right. Fresh buttermilk biscuits, flaky croissants, French toast, maple waffles, all matched up with country sausage, ham, or bacon, fried eggs, and cheddar cheese. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so go out and make yours a dandy just a little bit earlier tomorrow.
Got that hometown flavor creeping up on you. Yeah.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound & Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. From 68 to the Final Four, including 2 from the state of Florida and 1 participant that I'm not sure anybody saw coming. Let's head to South Florida. Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post joining us to talk about Florida Atlantic and the fact that the Owls are one of the 4 teams left in the NCAA tournament. Zachary, how we doing, man?
Doing great. Great trip at NYC, working Madison Square Garden, back at Miami. On to Houston. It was very busy, but it's an awesome kind of feeling.
Zachary, look, you cover this team every day. I'm late to the party. I think everybody's pretty much late to the party. We're all playing catch-up. When the season started in October, did you have any idea that this team would be, capable of doing this? Not only the run they've been on, but Zachary, they've only lost 3 games the entire year.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, I've been covering this team. I just graduated college last August. I've been covering this team since my freshman year. Dusty May just got the job. And just kind of going into the season, I knew the team would be significantly better than what they were the season prior. Did I think that they would go on a 20-game winning streak, the longest active streak in the country, being ranked for the first time in the program's history, like you said, only lose 3 games? No. Whoever expected that, they're lying, but I knew that they were going to be really good, and they've shown that. And just what you've seen throughout the regular season and in the Conference USA tournament and what we're seeing now in the NCAA tournaments, part of it is kind of like not surprising. You see what Dusty May is doing with this group, but part of it is just kind of like, wow, like this is the greatest season in the university athletic program's history.
Zachary, I go back to the Florida Atlantic game at the beginning of the year. I want to say that game was played in November, and it was on a weeknight, and I'm watching the game here in the radio studio, and it was clear that Florida Atlantic was just a better team. Now, I chalked that up to Todd Golden not really knowing what was going on yet with his roster that early in the year. But, boy, Florida Atlantic, if you go back to that game, and Gator fans up here in Jacksonville may remember that, they were just clearly the superior team, which might have been a little clue as to what lied ahead here for the FAU Owls.
Yeah, that game you kind of saw like glimpses of what we would really see throughout the rest of the season. We kind of saw the standouts that we're seeing now in Janelle Davis and Elijah Martin, and we're seeing kind of the depth of this 8 to 9 man rotation. And again, that's been sort of the thing that separated this team from a lot of teams in Conference USA, but more so in the NCAA tournament itself, is the depth of this team. And they really take the pride themselves in that there's not one guy that's always going to score 30 a night. Everybody's going to get their chance to do so. Everybody's going to contribute in a different way. The team, Dusty May told me, again, during the media days, the days prior, he said, if you look up the war team on Wikipedia, you're going to see a picture of FAU. That's exactly what they do. They play as a collective unit.
Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post covering the Florida Atlantic Owls here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Zachary, this run in the NCAA tournament, look, did they maybe get a tad lucky with Fairleigh Dickinson? Yeah, you can make that argument, but I would come back and tell you that the win over Memphis, the win over Tennessee, certainly the win over Kansas State, that's big boy basketball when it comes to Memphis, Tennessee, and K-State. Florida Atlantic trailed in the second half of all 3 of those games. They took their best punches, Zachary, and the Owls responded every time. I mean, translation, this is no fluke. I mean, this is a good basketball team that, to me, has a great shot of making some unbelievable history here in the next week.
Yeah, and just like I said prior, where I've just kind of seen this team under Dusty May grow year by year by year. Before this season, what was kind of the one sort of negative aspect about this team is that in close games, in close situations, or they would have a big lead, they would always be on the wrong side of the aisle. But you look at the statistic now, including these games in the NCAA tournament, they're 12-1 in games that are decided by 5 points or less. They've been in this situation every single season, especially last season where they were on the wrong side of it. They just have the experience, even though the best players in this 8 to 9 man rotation are sophomores. These teams play like seniors. These teams play like graduate students. The experience level it looks like they've been playing for a long time when they've just been playing for a couple years. It's like you said, whether people want to talk about Conference USA being a lower level conference this year, if you really look at it, Conference USA has been a really tough conference this year. A lot of teams like Charlotte and North Texas and UAB are doing wonders outside of the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the fluke was going to be there. People thought that, FDU, of course, they didn't face Purdue. But again, Kansas State, Tennessee, and Memphis, man, those are quality wins. And especially for a 9 seed. I know people were questioning the 9 seed because they won 30-plus games. But like you said, some major history could happen in Houston, Texas. And, man, for this university, that would be huge.
A couple of more for Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post covering Florida Atlantic. Let's talk about head coach Dusty May. I think Gator fans are just not realizing that he was on the staff with Mike White, and they're wondering, well, why didn't he get the job and not Todd Golden? So that's certainly a conversation for later on here. Boy, you want to talk about one of the darlings of the tournament. I would think Dusty May is certainly that right now, Zachary.
Absolutely. And again, the people don't realize really what the history behind him is. He's not just the guy that just came out of nowhere. Like you said, he was in Mike White's staff. He was in learning under Bobby Knight. You know what I'm saying? The guy's chops and the guy's experience prior to being a head coach of Florida Atlantic is really masterful, and he's bringing it here. And again, he's not like a guy that's going to throw chairs around. You know, he's a very positive guy in the huddle. He's very collaborative with the players. The guy just knows how to win now, you know, and obviously there's going to be a lot of rumbles post tournament of what's going to happen with him and the extension talks and stuff like that. But at the moment, it's what he's doing for FAU is unprecedented for that university. And again, he deserves all the praise that he's getting. I wish ESPN would stop messing up his name. You know, they keep saying Dustin May or Scott May or whatever. I heard it. It's funny to see that, but again, I feel like as the more they succeed and the more they shock the college basketball world, there's gonna be a lot of eyes on them.
And Zachary, I mean, look, again, you cover this team every day. You've been doing so for years. They haven't been to the tournament since 2002. All right, I know that apparently they don't like the term Cinderella, and that's firing them up and whatever works for you. But the bottom line is, second tournament appearance ever, first one since 2002. And they're in the Final Four. I mean, this is almost unprecedented territory what they're accomplishing right now.
Yeah, you know, and I would have to maybe side with the players and the coaches about the whole Cinderella term. You know, Cinderella to me is like what FDU was going to be until FAU squashed those hopes. I just think, you know, a 30-plus win team and a really tough conference this year is just not a Cinderella. It's just expected to win. And again, I like you said, I get it because, again, the last time they made the conference was 2002. And again, just the name branding of Florida Atlantic is not really that monstrous on the national level, but it might be from here on out if things kind of align in FAU's way. And again, they're just proving that they're a legit basketball team that can cause some damage, and we're going to see that possibly against San Diego State. And I don't even want to look ahead to that, but yeah, some major history could be made here.
Yeah, you know, as we begin to wrap up with it, you mentioned San Diego State on Saturday, the Final Four game that everybody predicted, right? Florida Atlantic and San Diego State on Saturday there in Houston for the right to play for the national championship. Certainly San Diego State has made some noise their own. They've won some big games, including knocking off Alabama this past weekend. What's your early thought on FAU San Diego State on Saturday?
Well, you know, when I was watching the San Diego State Creighton game the other day, and I think between the two teams, even though they're both, again, just tough teams and no team wants to face them, I maybe would have wanted to side with FAU facing San Diego State. I see a lot of comparisons with Tennessee in that way. The size is there, the physicality is there. I think FAU can match that while being undersized. Creighton has a lot of guys that I think can just score the basketball at will there, but you know, but again, you look at just what San Diego State beat on the way here. They beat a number one seed. They beat really quality teams here. Once again, it's going to be another kind of opportunity for FAU to sort of, you know, beat the money line again. I think they might be San Diego State might be favored by a couple points, I believe. So it's going to be a fun one, like everyone has been. But I think FAU is just made to last in this tournament. Like I said, with that 8 to 9 man rotation, guys are not really getting gassed out a lot. Especially this rest break that they're taking, it's so huge. So I think that against San Diego State, we're just going to see a brawl. We're just going to see which pit bull, you know, just gets tired first, and one's going to capitalize by the end of it. But we can't see any sloppy play here. I don't think there's really that much room for error if you're FAU.
And you know, one thing that really stuck out to me, you were in New York City. I'm not sure if you were, you know, in the locker room when this happened or if it was talked about afterwards. But for the coaching staff and the head coach of Kansas State to walk into the FAU locker room and talk about the battle and talk about how much respect he had for them and to not let their guard down. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate sign of sportsmanship from Kansas State, you know, a Big 12 power that was a third seed in that region. Boy, they earned FAU's respect, obviously, with what that coach did after that game.
It was great to see. I was in the locker room, not during that time. I think they had to kick the media out before that, but it was a really good gesture. And I know Jerome Tang and Dusty May do have they are friends outside of the basketball, you know, college basketball world. And you know, just seeing that again, getting that sort of rub from a coach like that, and just from a program like Kansas State, to me, one of one of the teams I thought was going to go very far in this tournament. It's huge. It's huge for a program like FAU. And again, just even what Dusty May said after the game that, head coach Mike White, obviously winning a national championship before when he coached at earlier this season when he coached at Detroit Mercy, he said that I haven't seen a team like FAU in years. You guys can easily make the Final Four. It happened, So again, they're getting a lot of the praise from really huge names in college basketball, and people, if people are not aware, I see a lot of people on social media saying this is a really boring Final Four. I don't know. The history is going to be made in Houston, whether it's FAU winning or not, but this team is built to last.
Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post. Zachary, leave us with this. About 50 miles away there in Coral Gables, the Miami Hurricanes are making that trip with Florida Atlantic to Houston. I mean, that's insane, right? I mean, they're the first I believe I read this in decades, the first two teams from the same state to go to the Final Four or in a long time, or I guess in that same 50-mile radius, I guess of what it was. But the whole South Florida area with Miami and FAU both going, what's it like down there right now?
And the buzz in FAU has been just booming. Obviously, since FAU just started that win streak all back in the regular season. But man, the fact that there is a possibility that we can see an all South Florida final in the NCAA tournament, it's huge. It's huge for South Florida sports. And I know that, South Florida sports, they're good in some areas, whatever in some areas as well. But an FAU-UM final in the NCAA tournament would just be just a spark for what just to see in South Florida sports. I mean, just kind of thinking about it and thinking about all the fans and even thinking about how Houston's going to look, with the fans and everything, it's going to be exciting. But obviously, if you got to handle business against the Aztecs, and then same thing with UM, they're facing really the only experienced team in the Final Four in UConn. So, but the excitement is there.
I know the Florida Atlantic alumni here in Jacksonville has come out of the woodwork. I've heard from quite a few of them that are all sorts of fired up about what FAU is doing. Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post, home from Madison Square Garden, soon to head out to Houston to cover FAU in the Final Four. Zachary, appreciate the time. Certainly, if FAU makes some noise out in Houston, we'll be dialing your phone again. Thank you, my friend.
No problem.
And thank you to Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post covering Florida Atlantic. What an absolute story that has been over the last couple of weeks, really all season. I mean, it's a team that beat Florida earlier this year, has only lost 3 games all season, won basically at the buzzer, beating Memphis in the round of 64, knocked out the darling of the tournament in Fairleigh Dickinson, and then goes back-to-back, beating Tennessee and Kansas State when they trailed both games in the second half, and Florida Atlantic, only their second NCAA tournament appearance, they find themselves in the Final Four with former Gator assistant Dusty May as their head coach. Just an absolutely terrific story. Well, that'll just about wrap it up for what has been a very busy Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We got a lot of people to thank. Again, Zachary Weinberger of the Palm Beach Post covering Florida Atlantic. Thank you to Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore, for talking Lamar Jackson. Boy, what a story that's turned into, as apparently Lamar Jackson has requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens. Really appreciated Luke Jones on a very busy day in Baltimore joining us to discuss that, as well as Calais Campbell. Again, Calais Campbell has spent his last 3 years with the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore cut him a couple of weeks ago, and Calais was in Jacksonville for a visit last week. So appreciate Luke Jones for talking about all of that with us tonight here on 1010XL, and my man Ben Troop, former Florida Gator tight end, All-American tight end for the University of Florida. Really enjoyed the conversation with Ben, talking Gator spring football, but we talked Evan Ingram, we talked Jawan Taylor, we talked Rand Carthon, among many other NFL topics with former Gator Ben Troop. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Tuesday. We're moved up the rest of the week. We'll be in for Rick Ballou beginning at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Monday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Monday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night, beginning at 6 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Why does everyone seem to hesitate to buy a used car these days? Probably because the warranties stink. Well, we only offer the best cars that can pass a 160-point inspection and qualify for the Beaver Certified program with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. You mean just